Hello, this is Ross Bliley from the podcast Pigskin Tales. This podcast is sponsored by Sterling Soap Company. With products sold throughout 41 locations around the globe, Sterling Soap Company has a unique assortment of products to choose from for your loved one for the holidays. Handmade artisan soaps created by Roderick and Amanda Lovin since 2012, these products are affordable and provide great value. Act now and save on your shipping costs. If you purchase $75 or more, your shipping cost is free in the United States. Shop now online at sterlingsoap.com.
Hey there, sports history fan. Arnie Chapman here from the Sports History Network. Now, before you jump into this episode, I wanted to share with you an exciting giveaway we have going on with Home Field Apparel. We have a digital $50 gift card to homefieldapparel.com for one lucky fan of the Sports History Network. All you got to do is head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways to sign up. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways.
This is Basketball History 101 with Rick Loayza.
Welcome back to Award-winning Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network. I am your host, Rick Loayza, and this is the podcast where we bring to life some of the forgotten stories from basketball history. We are bringing old school basketball to a new school audience, and today we're bringing the story of the genetics of the NBA. In today's episode, we are going to take a look at what type of body is the ideal for an NBA player. And I know that you are probably thinking, really tall, right? Yes, the guy needs to be extraordinarily tall. And yes, height is definitely an advantage in making it to the NBA. But when you think about it, there are a lot of guys out there with extreme height that are not in the NBA. I went to university with a guy who was 7 feet tall or 213 centimeters, and he did not make it to the NBA. I mean, he played on our university team on a scholarship, but he did not play professionally anywhere. He took his degree in business and went straight to work for an accounting firm. He is probably the tallest accountant in America. In another case, I once went to a restaurant in California and the doorman was around 6'11" or 211 centimeters, and he moved in the most awkward way possible. He had NBA height, but did not have NBA athleticism. So yes, having extreme height is important, but it is not everything. Now let us go to the opposite extreme. There have been a handful of extremely short players who have played in the NBA like Muggsy Bogues, Nate Robinson, and Spud Webb. Bogues is only 5'3". Webb and Robinson are 5'7". But what they had to make up for the lack of height was out-of-the-world speed and kangaroo-like jumping ability. Both Webb and Robinson were NBA slam dunk contest champions, and Bogues was able to dunk a volleyball into an NBA basket. In other words, all three of them could play at rim level because of their unusual jumping ability. However, with all of that said, there is a pattern in the body type of the average NBA player, and that is what I want to get into today. In the United States, the average height for a man is 5'10" or 178 centimeters. Now, that is the average for all men in America. However, in the NBA, the average height is 6'7" or 201 centimeters. That is a full 9-inch difference from the average American male to the average NBA player. So let's take a player like Luka Doncic, who is 6'7". He is right in the middle of NBA height. About half of the NBA is taller than him, and half of the NBA is shorter than him. But more than just unusual height is necessary to make it to the NBA. The player also has to have a combination of speed, strength, athleticism, coordination, and a mind that understands the game of basketball and can process information at an incredibly fast rate. The game is so fluid and fast moving that a player needs to be able to analyze everything that is happening on the court and make moves and adjustments constantly. This is a rare combination of mind and body. And let us keep in mind that I am talking specifically about the NBA, which has only around 500 roster spots across the league. There are still thousands and thousands of guys who play professionally all over the world, but who are not quite skilled enough to to make it in the NBA. So let us take a deeper look into one specific physical measurement that is very common in the NBA. That one is wingspan. You might have seen that famous drawing by Leonardo da Vinci called the Vitruvian Man. It is a picture of a man with his arms out and his legs slightly spread. Then there is a square and a circle surrounding the man. This was Da Vinci's attempt at drawing the perfectly proportioned man. Now, one of the features of the Vitruvian Man is that his wingspan is exactly the same as his height. Therefore, if a man is exactly 6 feet in height, his wingspan should also be around exactly 6 feet, at least according to Da Vinci. But that is not so in the NBA. The NBA began to measure incoming players from head to toe in the early 2000s. Prior to that, the NBA would only measure height and weight. Today, the NBA measures wingspan, the length of the leg from the ankle to the hip, the width of their hands, the length of their hands, from wrist to the tip of the middle finger. The NBA pretty much measures every single body part they can think of. By the way, the largest hands in the NBA belong to Boban Marjanovic. Anyway, here is where I was going with the whole thing about wingspan. It turns out that the average NBA player has a wingspan that is 2 inches longer than his height, and I'm going to let that sink in for a moment. Not only are these guys at the extreme end of humanity in terms of height, but they also have really long arms relative to that extreme height. Anthony Davis of the Dallas Mavericks has a height of 6'10", but his wingspan is 7'5", a full 7 inches longer than his height. Now let's go back to Nate Robinson, who was a short player at 5'7". His wingspan is 6'1", which is 6 inches longer than his height. Pretty much if you go through every player in the NBA, you will find the same thing over and over. Everyone's wingspan is far longer than their height, and this could be the difference in a player making it into the NBA and playing professionally outside the United States. So the question becomes, why is wingspan so important? Well, it helps with steals and blocks. A player with an unusually long wingspan relative to his height is going to be able to get a finger on a pass and steal the ball, or be able to go up and block a shot that a player with normal wingspan could not get to. Let us go back to Anthony Davis for a moment. Considered one of the top defenders in the NBA. His wingspan is 7 inches longer than his height. That means that each arm is 3.5 inches longer than it should be for his height. Do you think that that would make a difference in blocking a shot or stealing a pass? You're right, it makes a difference. This phenomenon about wingspan was only discovered about 20 years ago, and now teams all over the NBA look at wingspan as one factor to consider when evaluating a player for their team. This is such a factor that in the last 20 years, only 2 players have made the NBA with wingspans that are shorter than their height, and those 2 players are JJ Redick and Yao Ming. Both players had a wingspan only half an inch shorter than their height, which really put both of them in the range of normal wingspan relative to their height. Of course, each player was able to make up for that deficiency with other attributes. Redick could shoot the ball like few others, and Yao Ming was 7'5". Well, this is a good place to take a break, and I will be right back with more on the genetics of the NBA.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row One catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row One Pictorum Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.
Hello, sports history fans. I'm Ross from the podcast Pigskin Tales. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment, but first, let's dive into today's sponsor, just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by handwriting relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique, budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched into words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. My favorite on the site is Bryce Harper 2021 MVP year. Because I'm a big stats guy, I think that's one of the coolest things ever. Check it out. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved one this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those who you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for 15% off at artofwords.com.
Welcome back to the show, and let us continue with our story on the genetics of the NBA. As we shared before the break, one of the physical features that pops up with nearly every single NBA player is a wingspan longer than their height. This difference in physicality is absolutely a difference maker for a player making the NBA or playing in a different league. Now, I have two more physical attributes, but I will spend less time on them, but let's go ahead and go through them. For the next one, I need to go back to that picture of the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci. In that famous drawing, a man's waist should be exactly halfway between the top of his head and the bottom of his feet. In other words, if we use the waist as the dividing line, a perfectly proportioned man should have about 50% of his height above his waist and 50% of his height below the waist. But again, not so for the average NBA player. If an NBA player has a wingspan that is 2 to 3 inches longer than his height, it also means that he has legs that are longer than normal. For the average NBA player, about 55% of his height is below his waist, basically in his legs, and around 45% of his height above his waist. And that is true pretty much across the NBA. So what does having longer legs do for an athlete? Well, in the NBA, it means that a player can go run from baseline to baseline in fewer steps due to having longer legs, and that helps with speed. If you can run the court in fewer steps than another player, then you have a huge advantage in fast breaks or just getting back on defense. The average NBA player needs 13 steps to get from baseline to baseline. LeBron James only needs 11 steps to cover the same distance. That explains the chase down blocks that he practically patented. Giannis can go baseline to baseline in just 10 steps. The more you start to think about it, the more you begin to realize that making the NBA is first the product of some really hard work, which anyone can do if they put their mind to it. But it also takes a genetic gift of a body type that only certain people get. Now, the last thing that I wanted to cover is the average NBA player's hips, which are more narrow relative to his body size than the average human. Now, this is true across all sports, regardless of whether we are talking about men or women. This seems to be true in almost every sport. Elite athletes, whether they be gymnasts, volleyball players, sprinters, ice skaters, soccer players, everything, it helps to have narrow hips. That physical feature has a direct correlation to speed and the ability to change direction quickly. Basically, athletes with wider hips have more trouble changing direction, and when it comes to the elite level of sports, which the NBA is the elite level, a fraction of a second here and there in changing direction can make all the difference between winning and losing a game. It is the difference between making the NBA and not making the NBA. So to wrap this up, yes, it is true that making the NBA takes an incredible amount of discipline and hard work to hone your skills and be the best player that you can be. But the truth is that the hard work has to sit on a genetic foundation of a 1 in a million combination of height, speed, athleticism, coordination, mental fortitude, and overall good health. When you look at the NBA, you are looking at the best 500 players in the world who all meet these physical qualifications. And I've said this before, but even the worst player in the NBA is still one of the greatest players in the world. Well, that is it for today. I hope that you can take what we shared today and view the players in the NBA through fresh eyes. They are the world's best at what they do. Join us next time when we share the story of team chemistry, and we are going to use the 1989 Detroit Pistons as our example. That's next time on Basketball History 101, part of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of Sports Yesteryear. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com to find out more about this and other sports history podcasts. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our page on Facebook. It's called Basketball History 101 Podcast. There you will find shorter historical posts, and I'll announce there when new episodes come out. I want to thank my producer and editor, Jacob Loayza. Join us each week as we continue to mine the history of basketball for more great stories from the past. Take care, and see you soon.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, aka the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.